Welcome back to the Playoffs of Life podcast with your host, Adrian Hatcher. This is the podcast where the game of life never stops. This episode, we're going to be discussing the yin and yang of marriage. As you saw in the thumbnail, we're going to be discussing some things about marriage, seeing as for the past few months, I have been engaged and I am going to be a fiance turned married man in the next couple of months. With that being said, I felt like there was an episode that needed to be made about what the expectations of marriage were, especially for my relationship. And I've labeled out about 3 things that I feel is best for how my marriage should work and how I feel like I can be a better person inside my marriage. With that being said, if you support the podcast on YouTube, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're following on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, or any other platform, leave a review. Greatly appreciated. So let's get into the episode. With the yin and yang of marriage, number one thing that I felt was best in my marriage is building a foundation. So what do I mean by that? Me building a foundation means that you're going to have to put in the work. You're going to have something that you can build off of entering into your marriage. Yes, you are in a relationship with a person who you truly love and who you truly care about, but throughout that relationship, there are going to be hard times just as well as good times. And during those moments, you have to build on what makes your relationship work the best. That means you're going to have to deal with certain things that you're not comfortable with. You're going to have to deal with situations that you didn't see yourself in. And you're also going to have to self-reflect on many of the things and opportunities that you've had in your life and whether or not those can become good habits leading to a future of success in your marriage. Now, when you're married, you're going to understand this, but you have to start off somewhere and you have to build at an early stage. I truly feel like the more you understand early on in your marriage, the better and long lasting your marriage can be. Seeing as a lot of people assume that our generation isn't good at commitment and do not understand the concept of being married faithfully, I feel like it is very important to understand where your foundation is going to start and how you're going to build that foundation. Whether that's talking to your partner and both of y'all coming to an understanding about how to basically have an argument, or understanding where certain things have to be in your lives in terms of goals and aspirations, and what do you see yourselves planning out for a future and how you see yourself obtaining it with your partner. So in terms of building a foundation, it's going to be probably one of the hardest things you will have to do in life, but I feel like it will grant the biggest reward. And that is what we are searching for when we do build that foundation. Now, the second thing that I really want to stress, I think is just as important, is communication. When you are discussing things with your partner, especially a partner that you tend to know better than a lot of people because you spent so much time with them, you tend to figure out that each of you communicate in different ways, whether it is through body language or you're actually expressing it verbally. You are not the same as your partner or anybody else. You decide how you communicate with people and how they interpret it. Now, the way you communicate may not vibe with the person you're with, but because you are dedicating your life to another person, they're going to have to figure out your conversation very quickly. They're going to have to figure out how to communicate with you open and honestly. So when you're communicating with your partner, you have to set standards. You have to set the opportunity so a partner can understand who you are. No one is going to be able to vibe and understand you better than yourself. And if you don't give the necessary time to the person you're with, you're going to have struggles. And you're going to have struggles that you're going to battle with and not be able to come to a conclusion with your partner. So communicating with your partner, like I said, through arguments, also communicating with them about your feelings and emotions, about what it makes you tick and how you approach the world. You know, you want to be able to have somebody to bounce off ideas of, go to when you're struggling with life, and somebody who truly has your back at the end of the day. Because when you're getting married, the commitment that you're building is to have a partner that understands you to a level that both of you are on the same page and you're both fighting the same battle. How can you get your partner to be with you on the battlefield if they don't understand who you are and how you approach life? So, like I said, building a foundation, communication, and then the third one and final one is going to have to be self-respect. You have to develop a certain level of self-respect for yourself. The reason being, and the thing that I think a lot of people struggle with when we talk about self-respect, if you don't understand how to love yourself, how do you love somebody else? How do you learn to give more of yourself to a person when you are already struggling with your own demons? There have been quotes and scriptures and tons of things out there that always talk about make sure you are okay before you tend to go and seek out another person or go and help another person. The reason being is because if you cannot handle the stresses, emotions, and the battles in life, if you can't get through the problems that you currently have and have been struggling with, then how are you going to be able to tackle somebody else's problems? And not only that, but even if you tackle them, how are you going to be able to correct it to make sure it doesn't happen again? When you're understanding a relationship and especially when you're getting into a marriage, if you are not having self-respect for yourself, it's a trickle-down effect. Because whether you're a man or a woman, everybody has a role in the relationship. And in order to do your role, you have to have confidence in that role as well. That also bleeds through in your self-confidence. Are you confident in yourself? Are you confident in your relationship? Will you be confident in your marriage? Do you see your marriage working out better for yourself when it comes to how much you love yourself? Now, if you don't love yourself enough, then that is going to be a battle that you will have to deal with your partner. But now you're battling with your partner at a level that's not conducive to winning. You know, you've gone into a relationship and your partner doesn't understand you well. You've gone into a relationship and your partner is finding out things that they necessarily needed more time to work up to, needed more time to understand. And if they knew beforehand, they probably would have put that time in, but you waited until you got married. Prime example, in my relationship, I tend to always have an issue when it comes to letting my partner understand how I approach life. I tend to try to put the weight of the world on my shoulders, and that leads to my partner feeling like she is alone in a battle, because not only can I not help her physically, but I can't help her emotionally, because I'm not at the level I need to be at to tackle her issues physically or emotionally. If I'm trying to fight alone on the battlefield and I'm telling her, no, I'm good, don't worry about it, I'll make it happen, you just do your thing, then are you truly being a good partnership, or are you just being a really good friend? Like, and then when it comes to marriage, when you're gonna marry that person, and this is your person, this is a long-standing commitment. This is a relationship that you want to thrive for the next years of your life, until the day that you eventually leave this planet. You're foreseeing a future with this person. And I truly believe in the spiritual sense that a marriage is a covenant, and that it is just the next level of truly having a three-way covenant, you, your partner, and God. So from my perspective, all three of the things that we just talked about, which is building a foundation, communication, and self-respect, they all go hand to hand into eventually reaching a truly loving marriage. Because I think a lot of us have seen marriages that haven't been loving, that haven't been conducive to being a good partner, marriages that are just in stalemates. Even those marriages that have kids in it, and you would assume that when the kids are there, they're being a great husband, they're being a great wife, and they're being a great mom and dad. And then you see the kids leave and the relationship falls apart, because the commitment that they made didn't follow my steps. Now, I'm not saying that my steps are the best way to approach anybody's marriage, but in terms of my marriage, those are 3 things that I truly will focus on, and there are other things I will have to focus on. But I feel like having a foundation when we go into this marriage, understanding the plan that we have and executing it, that goes well into starting our marriage. And when we get into our marriage, still communicating with my partner, being able to tell my partner what's going on in my life, her being able to express how she feels and not feel judged or not feel rebuked, being able to feel as if I'm going to be there for her regardless of the words that come out her mouth. Not everything is going to be helpful or healthy, but these are things that only you two can approach. And then once I communicate with my partner for the entirety of my marriage, I also have to learn to love myself enough so that she doesn't feel like she's alone. A lot of us struggle even early on before relationship with loving ourselves enough to be able to love another person. And if you can't do that, then you truly have no reason to get married at the current level you're at. Doesn't mean you can't improve, and it also doesn't mean that you're never going to get married or you're never going to find a partner that you want to spend the rest of your life with. But this is a very big commitment. There's so much that goes into it. In a physical sense, you're giving up your time, your body, you're giving up your future. In the spiritual sense, you're giving up your foundation, the one you've already built with either God, or basically anything that you've poured your soul into. Now you're not the only one. Now you both are pouring your souls into a foundation of love. And that has to stick throughout the entire marriage. That foundation has to be there because there are things, there are stresses, there are problems in life that will challenge you in your marriage. If you're already in a relationship and you're already dealing with some of these issues, you've already experienced them. Now imagine being married and the person you're tied to, you truly have to deal with their problems on top of your problems. So that's basically problems times 2. And if you already struggle with getting your problems done and you don't feel like your partner is at a level that can truly help you, now you have way too much on your plate. Now you have less of an understanding than you did when you first got into something. And that's what eventually leads to divorce. A bonus that I want to add to this episode about the yin and yang of marriage is that in order for you to truly have the yin and yang of a great marriage, you have to be able to express yourself as a man. I guess this bonus is really for men in general. You have to open up past the pride, the ego, and you have to be vulnerable. And in order for you to be vulnerable, you have to let go of past trauma. You have to work on it. You have to understand that your partner isn't responsible for where you are in life, but they will play a role in how you get to a better future. But that only comes with being vulnerable with a person, letting them see sides of yourself that you don't let other people see. We always give a persona when we're outside in the real world. And then when we retreat to our own space, that is what we truly are. That is our comfort level. That is our habits. That is our everyday life. And when we feel safe in our bubble, nothing can truly hurt us until we go back out into the outside world and we have to deal with all the emotions and all the things that we signed up for. Now, in a marriage, vulnerability will always play a role because regardless of how you approach your partner, you have to actually take a step back and approach them differently than you do everybody else. You can't bring that anger at your partner. Sometimes you have to take a soft approach, a loving approach, an emotional support role. Sometimes you can't be number one. Your problems can't eclipse the other person. Sometimes they need to be the number one. Sometimes it can't be 70-30 in a relationship all the time. Sometimes the roles will be flipped. And in order for that to happen, you have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to tell your partner who you truly are and believe that they will have your back at the end of it. And I think that's some really good points and really good things to stand by as you begin your marriage, as I'm beginning my marriage. And I think I would like to do more content on marriage and how I truly feel about how to have a truly loving marriage and how to build on the good things in life. So we may be making more content like this in the future. But with that being said, guys, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. We hope that you have a great day today, and we will see you guys later. If you want to support the pod, like always, go to YouTube, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and on Anchor and other podcast platforms, you can leave a voice message and we'll get back to you guys. So peace.